Hello.
And welcome to Makers.dev, episode number 102. Chris, can you tell me the name of a Disney film which prominently features the number 102 in its plot and features a character that gets personality modification therapy by a Dr. Pavlov and, at the climax of the film, gets baked into a cake?
I was going to say 102 Dalmatians until you talked about those last two things.
Have you seen the film 102 Dalmatians?
Nope.
Those are two things that happen in the film
really?
102 Dalmatians. That's correct. I also hadn't seen the film, and I read the Wikipedia article really quick, and it's kind of horrifying. Cruella, played by Glenn Close, reprising her role in the live-action adaptation of 101 Dalmatians, gets personality therapy to cure her of the crime that she committed of the puppy thing, but then later on in the film it's shown that his therapy doesn't work if the character hears a large bell sound,
of course,
which happens when Big Ben chimes, and then she just reverts to her old personality. And Dr. Pavlov doesn't tell anyone. He just discovers this and goes on with his day, I guess. And then I think the puppies bake her into a cake, but she survives. And then the good guys inherit her fortune because that was it was a condition of her parole, I think. Yeah, so interesting plot.
I saw something on Twitter recently that was, do you think whenever Pavlov heard a bell, he got the overwhelming urge to feed a dog?
What is the Pavlov response? Is it the dogs, or is it your response to the dog? Yeah, that's funny. I've had thoughts along the same line watching my nephew Jack learn actions that cause a particular response in his parents. It's very much a two-way street, and if he learned how to fake cry when he was surprisingly young, like 8 months old or something, and he's just doing the same sort of thing we're doing. Like he's taking actions in the world and seeing if that cause the response that he wants, and if they do, then it gets reinforced and he does more of it. And yeah, and that's it's people training each other.
That's one reason. Something you have to learn as a parent is you never react to a kid getting hurt. Always react to their response. And so, because if a kid falls, you might go because that would hurt an adult, right? But kids are like bouncy, and so most kids just pick themselves up and keep going. But if you react badly, then they'll start crying, and then you never know when it's actually hurt versus versus just reacting to your response. So it's something you have to learn how to teach yourself not to do. Yeah.
I totally see that. And also, so yeah, I think it's not good to freak out when a kid falls, because then, I have seen kids immediately look at the adults around them after they do something, seemingly asking the question, how should I be reacting right now? And if they see you freaking out, they're also going to freak out. And at the same time, I also don't want to be discounting their emotions, which I guess you included what to do with that. Like you react based on their reaction.
Yeah. So, if they cry, then you snap into freak out mode. But
right.
If they're okay, then whatever. Right.
I heard growing up all the time this refrain of, "Oh, you're all right, it's okay," and I heard that's dismissive of. Okay, well, what if they're not all right? You're now teaching them that their own emotions are invalid, and that's not healthy. But
I see.
Yeah. I'm excited for parenthood. It's so complicated. My gosh. It's been a while since we've recorded a podcast. How have you been? We've had Christmas and New Year. I haven't seen you since last year, Chris.
That's right. Since last year. In elementary school, I'll see you next year.
That's right. The kid at the sleepover that's like, it's already tomorrow.
That's right. I had a good one. I went up to Michigan, where it was actually warmer than Indiana for a while. Indiana went to negative 10 degrees or something.
Oh my goodness.
A storm came down. Our pipes did not freeze. They did fine. So that's great. Had a good Christmas and New Year. Came back. Everything was okay. Yeah. I did not do very much. You did a bunch, which we'll talk about, I guess. I didn't do very much. The gravity competition ends tonight at 7. And so my whole team is trying to figure out we have 4 more subs left. And we just increased our score quite a bit, actually. We're in 9th place, which means we'd get a gold medal. Also, there is some interesting gossip, I guess, Kaggle gossip. A significant contingent of people, I guess, think that there are 4 cheaters in the top 10 right now.
Oh.
Yeah, that was posted on the board. These 4 accounts are being very obvious that they always update at the same time and always about the same amount, which means someone is leaderboard climbing with 4 accounts, which is against the rules.
Interesting.
And so there was a big thread about that. And so I think hopefully they'll just get disqualified. So, and that'll knock out 4 people above us.
Would they like all of their accounts would get disqualified? It wouldn't just be that they get collapsed into a single account. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
They're in the top 10 though, so it sounds like they would legitimately be doing well if they just had a single account. Why might they be doing this?
The other thing is that they're probably doing well in the public leaderboard. So we think they're leaderboard climbing. The way that their updates are, they update by just a little bit every bit, and then the next one, all 4 of their accounts move up at the same rate, which probably means they're just changing 1s and 0s in their answer and leaderboard climbing. It's a little unclear why someone would do that because they're going to sink in the private leaderboard for sure if that's what they're doing. So, yeah, it's very odd behavior. So we'll see. We'll see what happens at the end.
Yeah, that is strange. Do you think we'll get an answer? Will this
we'll see if they drop in rankings, and then we'll know that they were leaderboard climbing, and then we'll see if they were disqualified. I guess later.
Might we know why they were doing this though?
Or not unless they post about it. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. It's all settled, over emails and stuff, not in public usually. I'm
imagining a very complicated plot where they have a bet with someone or something where they have to get a certain number of accounts on the leaderboard. I don't know.
So something that happens, which is interesting. I've heard this happen. I've heard this a couple of times from different people. People sell accounts that have gotten medals. I guess that makes sense. If you're trying to get a job somewhere and you want to be like, hey, I have this account with this many medals, you just buy one. But it's like, I don't know. It's such a weird economy. So you cheat to get medals and then you sell the accounts to other people. I don't know. Very strange.
Based on a bet of lies. How interesting. Huh.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I could think of.
So many unexpected consequences from setting up this like it makes so much sense that you would want to set up a competition for AI and then hire people based on their performance of that. But then of course that's going to create the incentive to both cheat up the leaderboard and cheat by buying someone's account. Huh.
Yeah.
Anyway, talk to me about the gravity competition though, just how your team is doing. So you're in position 9 right now. What's the threshold for getting gold?
11, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So a little buffer, and then maybe these 4 accounts
hopefully
also.
Hopefully 4 accounts drop. Yeah. So cool. If those 4 accounts drop, I'm very confident we'll get gold. If they don't, then still hopeful, but we'll see. Yeah. Okay. And then I'll need 1 more gold to get Grandmaster. So this will be my 4th if we get gold.
Fantastic. This competition ends tonight. This episode will not be published before tonight. Is there anything juicy you can tell me about how your team has been getting to position 9?
Unfortunately, not really. It's a lot of hard work. We think there's a data leak, and we think the top 3 teams have found it because they all jumped up by about the same amount, above what other people were sort of at. And so we think that that's the data leak, and we think we sort of have found some of it, but we think there's an easy way to get all of it, and we just haven't found it. Okay. And that's sort of
like just on Google, they have a data set that is the private data set they're using.
Could be something like that. Yep. Okay. It could also be something like, sometimes it's really silly things like, the first half of everything is 1 and the second half is a 0. Okay. It's not that, but it could be something that simple. Like, every 5th one is a 1 or something, it can be something like that.
How might that play out then in the final judging of this? Would that get shaken out?
No, it's totally valid. Like
that's valid.
If there's data leaks and you find them, then you can win with them. Yeah, that's fine.
Gotcha.
Sometimes if they're found early enough in a competition and it's really egregious, then the competition will reset. But it definitely won't reset this late in the game. It's got to be the first couple of weeks. Like really, really, really egregious data leaks are found in the first couple of weeks sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. How have you felt about working with this team? I know we were talking about that you had to find a team that didn't care about winning the prize money. How do you feel like everyone's pulling their weight? Do you feel like you've gotten insights that you wouldn't have gotten if you were just working on your own?
Yeah, I actually feel like I've fallen behind a little. Like they're all doing more than I have because so when we left for Christmas, my server's here and I lost access to it at some point, and so I couldn't do anything for a couple of days. And then by the time I got access back to my server and figured out what they did, they had done stuff beyond what I had done. So I I was at the state of the art in the team before Christmas, and after Christmas I was quite a bit behind. And so like, yeah, I feel like they're the ones who, if we get a gold, have really pulled me up. So yeah,
that's great. Then that really benefited you to partner up.
Yeah.
Did you do your tactic of ngrokking into your computer?
I did, yeah, and that worked for quite a while until it must have been we lost power or something. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you didn't do your battery backup thing?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Okay. Neat. I'm excited for you. I'll be cheering you on. Get your second to last gold that you need to be able to be a grandmaster. And then I can say that I'm extremely good friends with a grandmaster on Kaggle, which will do wonders for my ego.
Which means nothing, yeah.
That'll be my new introduction to people. Hello, my name is Christian, and I'm very good friends with a grandmaster on Kaggle.
Fantastic.
Cool. Oh, there was something I sent to you that was a video about someone doing a bunch of mapping and geolocating stuff. Really interesting. This guy tracked a bunch of his runs, running through every single street in. Oh, it wasn't Portland. Philadelphia, yeah. And so as part of that, it's this big data problem of how you figure out where you've been tracking, and he had to deal with a lot of the same GPS issues that I heard you dealing with one of the Kaggle competitions you had done. And you mentioned this problem that he mentioned in the video called the coastline of England problem that I think we had talked about it before, but I hadn't retained it.
May have.
But I'd love to just cement my understanding of that problem. So I guess I'll start. I think that the problem is that how you measure the coastline of England is not straightforward. There's not an answer to that problem, because do you dip into every single cove? And if you dip into every cove, well, should you be dipping in at a more granular level? Of like every rock, should you be going around the rock, or should you be going at the subatomic level of every single little dip into it? And then it's a coastline, which is defined, I think, as the boundary between water and land. So the water is moving all the time. So does England have a different coastline depending on exactly where the water line happens to be at this moment? Is that a fair framing of the problem?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so the problem is, how long is the coastline of England? And England was chosen, I think, just for historical reasons, but also because it has a long coastline, and it's kind of a rocky coastline with lots of inlets and stuff. And so it's a good example of this problem. Mm-hmm. And it's something that is physical and should have an answer, but it doesn't have an answer. And that's very frustrating because of the things you talked about. Yeah, the one way to explain it is that it's a fractal. So if you look at it like at a map level, that, like, say you get a second grader to draw a map, right? It's just really straight lines. Mm-hmm. You can just measure those lines. Great. But if you zoom in, there's coves and there's all sorts of stuff. And then you zoom in more, and there's like a pier, like a man-made pier. Should that count? Should you go like 100 feet that, or 100 meters that way and 100 meters back? Maybe not. But what if you get rocks that stick out 100 feet? Is that 100 feet that way and 100 feet back? Probably not. But if you cut that off, then do you cut off other peninsulas? And then what size of peninsula do you cut off? And so the whole problem is that, or the whole framing of the problem is to get you to think that there are assumptions that you make, even on quote unquote simple physical, like attributes of things. Mm-hmm. And so without the assumptions that you made, like any answer for what is the length of the coastline is like sort of pointless, because you don't know the assumptions. And so that spirals out into, well, there's assumptions you make for everything. And so even very simple definitions of things, come with lots and lots of assumptions. And so that's kind of where it goes. But that's the problem.
That's a fun problem. Is the circumference, is that the right word? Was the area around?
Yeah, circumference. Yep.
Is the circumference of a fractal infinite?
So it depends. If you are talking about the calculus limit in sense, then maybe. I actually don't know. But the coastline of England is defined by atoms, and so that's a bottom, right?
Sure.
So you can't go. I mean, you could go lower than atoms, I guess, if you wanted to. But yeah, so we sort of talked about this, and at some points it gets ridiculous, right? You go to atoms, and it's like, well, that's silly. But right. You could just think about individual rocks or grains of sand, right?
Right.
And that's still ridiculous, but it's like, oh, well, I guess that, changes how you think about things.
I imagine as you're going more granular, the coastline distance is going to keep increasing, because as I go around a pier, that's going to increase. I can't see that decreasing as I get to finer and finer granularities. So on Wikipedia, when I look up what the coastline of England is, how long it is, what granularity are they using, and how did they decide to use that granularity?
I actually have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to look up. Yeah. Yeah.
What a fun problem. The coastline of England problem. I would love to get into some of my stuff, because I have a lot of stuff that I would love your take on. The first is, most excitingly, for anyone watching this on video, I tidied my office. I used to have those 2 huge shelves.
It looks
with
great.
all the junk. It's still in my office, but now it's off to the left where you can't see it. And I bought a plant at Home Depot with Sarah, and it's way bigger than I thought it would be for the space. I was at Home Depot like, oh, that's a reasonable sized plant. That'll be like, the same, that'll fit really well. And I brought it in, and it just like explodes in the room. And I didn't realize how small the indoor space was compared to Home Depot.
Have you ever gone out and chopped down your own Christmas tree?
No. Is it the same thing?
The exact same thing. You get there and you're like, oh, this looks pretty good. And then you get at your house and it's like folded over at the top because it hits the ceiling. Yeah.
Isn't that part of the plot of A Christmas Story? The dad goes and chops down the tree, and then I think
so.
It's
that's
the
same movie?
thing.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah, I played this audiobook, the Bobaverse series. Oh my gosh,
Bobaverse?
It's so good. It's a newer series.
Bob,
like B.O.B. Like the guy's name is Bob, and he
Okay.
creates a universe, and he calls it the Bobaverse.
Right.
Fascinating plot that this guy gets cryogenically frozen, and then he gets revived as that his consciousness has been uploaded to silicone, and it's this sort of weird situation where he's kind of a slave, but this company wants him to go and pilot a spaceship and then become a von Neumann probe. And so then the rest of the series is about him doing that and the safeguards that are put in place and how he subverts those. And I love it. It's so good. And so I just played that, and the night before I played it and was just listening to it super, super late because I couldn't turn it off. I get so engaged in this sort of story. And then woke up the next day and wanted to listen to more of it. So I was looking for a task that I could do while also listening to this book. So I just totally rearranged and reorganized and tidied my office, and it looks much better now, I think. I've got a nice plant. I've got a nice tidy shelf without a bunch of junk on it, and it feels cool. I feel more legit as a content creator. Is there anything else on that No. That's
leads into the next thing, though. Speaking of which,
yes,
you are now creating more content.
I am creating more content. I started a new podcast with our mutual friend Shai Schechter. The idea is to I have weekly calls with Shai. He's one of my very good friends, and something we noticed is that the conversations we have to help each other get unstuck tend to look very similar, no matter who's helping the other person. So we both found this incredible value in talking to someone and just having them gently push on, okay, well, what's the next, what's the thing that you're trying to get done? Why can't you do that today? And what's stopping you from doing that? What's getting in your way? And then, okay, do you think with that minimal set of the thing that you could get done today, do you think you could do that like right now? And it's helped both of us in different contexts push forward different problems. It helped me to finally push the video clipper soft launch. I was feeling sort of overwhelmed at this deadline that I had from being on Michelle's podcast. I publicly announced that I was going to have something that people could use by the 26th, and got really caught up in the weeds of there's an infinite number of things I can improve and change about this, right? And so I was struggling with what's the minimal set of things that I need to do to allow public signups. And him asking me just like, why can't you do this today, really focused me in on, all this other stuff that I was worried about that are things that can be improved aren't directly in the way of the path of launching this thing. So, okay, that's very clarifying. I can get this done. And then he asked, okay, how long do you think that's going to take you? Once I said, it's these 4 things. I need to hide this feature, and I need to make sure that the login button actually works, and I need to do whatever. And him asking me, how long do you think this is going to take you? My ego stepped in and was like, that wouldn't take me longer than an hour to get done. And so then I told him like an hour probably. And I didn't get it done in an hour, but I did get it done the next day. So I don't know how long it would have taken me if I hadn't had that clarifying step. So the idea of this podcast is we are going to have those conversations with other people. If there's anyone who's in a business context, if it's like a project they're trying to get started, we will help walk them through that same step. So people come on our show and say, this is what I'm trying to get done, and I feel sort of lost. I'm not sure what to do next. And we walk them through, like, how are you feeling about that, and what are the possible barriers that are getting in the way? And guests leave the show with a clear action plan of what they would like to do. And we came up with an interesting way to structure it. We recognize that not everyone is going to want this to be public on a podcast. So we're experimenting with, if you would like to have exactly the same thing, we'll have exactly the same conversation with you. We'll record it. We'll send you the video afterwards. But it's not going to be public. You can pay us some amount of money. And then it's sort of just like a business coaching session. But if you'd like it to be free, you can also be on the podcast.
I love that idea. Very interested to see how that works out for you.
Thank you very much.
I didn't know about that second half. Yeah, that's cool. You said something interesting. So you said something unstuck, something, and I immediately got the image of a book cover with the word unstuck on it in the either Malcolm Gladwell or Seth Godin style, where you and Shai write a book about all your neat conversations with people over the next couple of years.
That's good. Or we could just type in a GPT-3, hey, write a book about with the title Unstuck in the style of Malcolm Gladwell based on podcast interviews, and it'll just pop it out.
I suppose. Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be a book, but I do think that this would be sort of a neat thing to do, like follow-up case studies on and stuff, so you have this business coaching session with someone, and then you do a case study a month later, like, did you actually do the thing? If not, why not? How can we help get you unstuck for the next thing? That is very cool. Have you released the first episode? Because when I looked, it wasn't live yet.
It's live as of yesterday.
Nice.
2 days ago. Yeah.
Cool. And what is the URL?
The URL is whatstoppingyou.fm.
Great. Whatstoppingyou.fm.
Whatstoppingyou.fm.
This is awesome. I'm looking forward to listening. Yeah.
I like the word unstuck. Yeah. Maybe maybe it should be unstuck.fm. No, it's whatstoppingyou.fm.
Yeah.
I also see that picture though with the Malcolm Gladwell like unstuck book.
Yeah, with like some duct tape or something being pulled off,
Yeah. That's good. That's one of the new things that I made. Second new thing that I made, sort of just as procrastination yesterday. I was having trouble after the holidays getting back into the work that I would most like to be doing on a long term. I don't want to use the word should. It's not that I should be doing the work. It's based on my long-term priorities. This is the work that makes the most sense to do on the video clipper. So I was having trouble doing that. I started just messing around on Hacker News and saw that someone released this interesting take on Wordle where it's showing you the pixels of the letters that you got correct, which is kind of a fun spin on it.
Yeah.
Showing it as like a 7-segment display sort of thing, and it shows you a row at a time, and it was kind of cool. And so in doing that, I reached for this tool that I've used before that I find by Googling the term regex dictionary. And it's this tool that someone made that looks like it's super old, but you can type in regex and then it searches an English dictionary for the word that you're looking for. So, in the context of trying to solve this word puzzle, I knew what pixels were correct and which were incorrect. So for each letter position, I was able to come up with a set of letters that could make sense in that spot. So I'm left with, I think it's a 5-letter word. I'm left with a set of letters for each position of this 5-letter word that could be in that position, but just me looking at it, it was difficult for me to figure out what the word was. So that's very easy to do in regex. You just say, okay, the first character is going to be one of the characters from this set. The second character is going to be one of the characters from this set, and do that for all 5 letters. So I did that and was reminded that I've used this tool several times in a similar context, and I really don't like it. It uses a server-side dictionary, so you submit a request and it takes several seconds to come back with the response of what the word list is. And I was thinking, how much better would this be if you just live type it in and you can load an entire dictionary into memory or in a web page? That's not that much data. And so I definitely didn't want to work on the video clipper because I just wasn't feeling it. So I said, well, let me just throw up a quick web page. It'll just be like a single HTML page with React. But then that was kind of hard to do, and so that's okay. Well, let me just do my full thing of I'll host it on Vercel, and I'll do the regular way that I do this with my regular project infrastructure. And the next thing I know, I'm doing keyword research on like what are the keywords that this other website's ranking for, and I find out this was the clinching moment. The URL regexdictionary.com was available, and I thought, oh no, okay, so I bought the domain name, and I hooked it up. I know. So, and from the keyword research I found there's a lot of word pattern phrases that were surprising to me that people Google really frequently. It's like thousands of queries a month. One of them is words ending in TO. I don't know why people are Googling that thousands of times a month, but that's one of the things people are Googling. So I scraped together...
Scrabble?
Maybe Scrabble? I was thinking it might be some sort of a recurring puzzle, if it's Wordle, or I don't know. Because I think it was pretty consistent traffic too when I looked at it. Other ones are like words ending in GRY, 5-letter words ending in OUR, words that start with RH, 5-letter words starts with CA, and I've got, I don't know, 24 of these total. So I felt pretty clever in that I could make all these landing pages just with a JSON document, because the two pieces of data that I need to make a new page are the title, which is just the thing people are Googling, and then the regex that filters the page, and then that generates the page that uses that regex to filter the dictionary. So when you visit regexdictionary.com/words-ending-in-gry, it fills in the regex. I even automatically generate the social media image, the open graph image. So it looks terrible, but I'm doing it so I could be easy to update to make it look better. And it was a fun little project, and I'm particularly proud of myself for launching this with marketing in mind. That I think previous projects of this caliber, if it was like a day-long project, it would just be a thing that I make and I might post it to my blog, but I wouldn't even be thinking about marketing in any sense. And I've got marketing in my bones now, a little bit of thinking one step ahead of, okay, how are people going to find this, and what are the things they might be searching for, who's the person who has this problem, and what might they be Googling to get to the solution. And I don't think this is fully connected with an audience, because like that Regex dictionary, I looked at the traffic and it gets something like, I don't know, like 500 visits a month or something, according to SEMrush. So I don't think this is important for anyone but me, but like at least I'm happy that this is the tool that I would want in this context. And I for people who are Googling for these terms of words, if they click on it, I think they'll be very confused by what regex is. However, maybe it does have a list of words that solves their problem. So I feel pretty cool about that.
That's really cool. I was trying to think of ways you could actually monetize it. If it's people like trying to play Scrabble or something, or trying to play Wordle or something, I wonder if there's a PDF that maybe someone else sells that you could be an affiliate for, that's like how to win Scrabble against your family or something.
Yeah.
And you put a big banner ad for that on it.
Yeah.
Something like that. But otherwise, it's just kind of a neat project. So it's cool. I'd be very interested to see if it actually gets traffic, in 6 months or something.
I'll keep you updated on this exciting new project. An interesting discovery in this was following the SEMrush technique that I learned from this onboarding expert of like, start with your core set of keywords and a core list of who you think your competitors are, and then go one step out from that of like, what are the related keywords, what are the other keywords that your competitors are ranking for, and then look for who's ranking top in those keywords, and then you can sort of repeat the cycle. I found that there are some big players in the space of like word game pages. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but like some of them have this domain ranking of like 60 or 70, and they have thousands of pages of like whatever the URL is / words ending in / and then every letter of the dictionary and every 2-letter combination. And it was interesting to see that like this is an established space, but these keywords are real juicy. Like most of the keywords have very, very low difficulty. So I'm curious to see what comes of it. And I'm most interested in my perspective shifting to be thinking about SEO from the beginning.
Yeah, I think that's the real key. My guess is, like most people, if they search for keywords ending in AY or something, they see the list, they take one, and then they bounce immediately. Like, for sure. That's my guess. But yeah, the general, marketing first is a good strategy to learn, to keep in mind. Yep.
I don't think this makes sense at all as a business. Yeah. Something that I would feel some personal satisfaction in is if I could be funneling people to be learning about regex. I think that'd be kind of fun, especially if I could get non-programmers interested in it. I'm thinking of like, the dad who's been doing crossword puzzles for 20 years and doesn't really know coding, but is interested in it. Maybe he's done some sort of a technical job. And if I could introduce him to the concept of regex, I think it would blow his mind. And if I could do it in an accessible way, I think he'd be very excited about that.
Yeah.
Especially in this new world of being able to just type in a description of the regex that you want to write, and then GPT-3 can write it for you. I think that's the regex is more accessible than it ever has been.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember even coders. So I was 3 years into college, 2.5 years into college before I learned about regex, and it sort of blew my mind. And I had been coding for a few years.
Yeah.
It's also extremely difficult to learn because it's basically an extremely terse programming language.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything you can do to make people learn about it or learn it would be cool too, just because. Yeah.
It'd be fun to make a little mini course on it, just as a tutorial. Actually, no, yeah. Especially with my fancy new background, I think I'm going to record a video just as an intro to regex. What a challenge! What's the minimal subset of regex that you teach? Well, no, I think I know what that would be. You
A through Z, 0 through 9, plus star,
dot. Yeah. The caret and the dollar sign for the beginning and end of the string. And I think, just that I think is that'll get you through most word puzzle things. Yep. Yeah. That's most of what I know about regex anyway. So
anytime I have to do like matching on a specific index or even parentheses and stuff, I'm like, oh no, I gotta. The other thing that I use all the time is not something. So yeah.
Yes.
5-character string where the second letter is not an X.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Huh. This sort of rolls into something that the next topic that I wanted to talk about. I was talking with my wife Sarah yesterday about egghead, and what was the context? Why was I talking about that? I don't remember. We were talking about something involving. Oh no, with one of her projects, we were talking about a potential way for her to be making money is to be sort of operating as an egghead of gymnastics coaching. So there's a whole bunch of problems in gymnastics. One of them is that when you're a new coach, or even if you're an established coach, there's no established training for coaches. And that's really bad because the coaches are responsible for putting these young people in extremely dangerous, potentially life-threatening situations physically. And there's all kinds of emotional abuse and other types of abuse that happen in gymnastics that is happening in part because the coaches never got trained. There's no established training for this. You sort of just are expected to get in and hit the ground running if you've taken gymnastics before, if you have experience with it, like see it, do it, teach it. So one of the business opportunities that we came up with last night is if she was operating as an egghead of gymnastics, she could be contacting specialists in communicating to your students in a healthier way without being abusive, and that could be its own course that then you have the same sort of affiliate model on Egghead. And so then she started asking about Egghead, and I was like, oh yeah, my friend Chris does that, and he makes a few $1,000s a month from it, from this course that he recorded years ago. And
much less now, but
much less now. Okay. And
few $100s a month, yeah.
Okay. This is interesting for the question I'm about to ask. So when I told Sarah it was like a few $1,000s a month, she was like, "Wow, why don't you do that?" And I was like, "Oh, I think I would actually really enjoy that." And especially being really comfortable in the realm of video and having this fancy background now that I want to show other people. And I really enjoy teaching. That's a activity that I get a lot of fulfillment out of. So the question that I'm coming to you with is, what's the deal with Egghead, and would you recommend it? And then I have more questions based on your answers to those questions.
Sure. So yeah, you absolutely can make a few thousand a month when the course first launches, but it dies off pretty quickly. And so I have several courses out now, and I haven't made one for like 2 years, and I'm still making a couple $100s a month, so that's nice. But it is not a panacea of free money forever. With technical content, the main problem is that you have to keep it updated because new versions come out all the time. I could actually see how this would be really great in gymnastics because, like, you know, good gymnastics teaching is the same for, I don't know, years. I mean, maybe there's new techniques and stuff that come out, but like teaching the teachers is something that doesn't go out of style. So that's really cool. The other thing about Egghead, so there's two things I'm talking about. One is, should you do Egghead? The other is just gymnastics Egghead question. One of the ways that Egghead got really popular is they had some very already popular people do courses. So when Dan Abramoff did the Redux tutorial, like that's what got me into Egghead, and that's what got a lot of people into Egghead. So
same.
If she did that, you would need like some superstar celebrity in gymnastics to do a tutorial. And that would be that's like the huge viral driver. So
which I think she should get. She carpooled with Nastia Lukin. They did
nice.
math homework together. Get
her to do one tutorial. It could be even simple, like
sure.
like, and absolutely, yes, yes.
It's a very small, close knit community. Also, I think she could very easily just get in contact with everyone involved in the space. Yeah.
So that's the other thing too, is that there's way less people who teach gymnastics than there are developers, and so you would need probably some like agreement with gyms, maybe. So like, you know, it costs, you know, this much per month, but you can show it to all of your new instructors or something like that. You'd want to do, I think, that kind of model instead of like a per developer model, because the $29 per developer a month makes sense because there's a million developers, right?
Right.
Makes far less sense when there's such a small market. So think about that.
Yeah, I think selling to gyms would make the most sense, and then everyone at the gym gets access to it, and then figure out what the capacity is of gyms to be able to pay for something like this. Yeah.
Now, should you do Egghead? That's a very interesting question. Egghead has changed recently, actually. Joel Hooks, the current head of Egghead, had a thread about this, a Twitter thread. Go look it up. But they used to do these self-serve courses that were extremely terse and often done by celebrities, like Dan Abramoff, right? People well known for the thing. They have moved. They moved first to a like a live, not a live stream, but like a workshop kind of model. They did workshops first and then turn those into courses. And now I think they're even changing again. So they've tried to find their footing. And Joel talks about it. They sort of not faltered, but like just changed. And so I would look up that. In particular, a lot of instructors who like doing the self-serve sort of small courses did not like the workshop style courses, because workshops are more work, right? And so like Joel was going after this sort of learner, like the best way for people to learn, and that is not necessarily the way that instructors want to teach, which is unfortunate, but kind of the way it is. So so the long and short of it is complicated. It has gotten more complicated recently. Yeah, I don't know if that answers any of your questions, but
this is helping to flesh it out. Yes. I think I need to know from, I guess I'll message Joel or read the thread that he did about the direction that Egghead's going in. The meta problem here of how do you create content that's most effective for people to learn is one that I'm very interested in. That's something I experienced even doing summer classes for middle schoolers, trying to figure out, like, especially for any sort of technical topic, there's such a wide diversity of experience and diversity of capacity, and very challenging when I first started to be able to teach kids web development, because one kid in the class would be way far ahead of everyone else, and he would have already made websites, and one kid in the class like doesn't know how to type, and how do you cater to both of those in the same room, which I sort of figured out by doing more of a self-paced, like having all the content hosted in a Khan Academy style. But yeah, all that to say, that topic is something I'm very interested in. And so where he's landed on that right now would be interesting to me to see if that's a type of content that I'd be interested in making. So that's the first part. The second part is I am chewing on what content would make the most sense for me to teach. Some of the obvious things are Firebase. I'm really into. I think I could say a lot about Firebase. I've been itching to make some sort of instructional thing about Firebase for a long time. And another area that I could do this on is on FFmpeg stuff. FFmpeg is so complicated and so powerful, and I know so much about it right now. And especially in integrating it with other tools and making it serverless, and this extra layer of there's a library called Fluent FFmpeg that is a much more reasonable interface that then compiles to the command that goes to FFmpeg that then you run. So that's something I would be excited about teaching. And then I was reminded I also have this learn to code thing that I was doing and then totally abandoned in 2020. And I'd like to finish that. My goal was to make an intro course on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I think I published HTML and CSS and never did JavaScript. So that would just be something I'd like to get done that I think would also scratch my itch for making educational content. And as a meta layer to this, I'm also thinking about, well, how does this feed into the other stuff that I'm doing? And I don't really know that Firebase would, but I could also see that being sort of a lead gen if I'm going to be doing more consulting work, that people would watch that course and then say, can I hire you to do consulting work because you clearly know what you're doing? And then maybe the FFmpeg stuff would have some spillover into the video clipper, that maybe some of the people who are trying to learn FFmpeg would rather use my tool, but I'm more cautious about that because I don't want to be like giving people all the information they would need to make their own version of the video clipper, and now I'm just having a machine that spawns competitors or something. I don't think I like that. But is that a scarcity mentality of that there's a certain number of customers, and and I think the market would certainly benefit from more people having more takes on this. But I would like to. I don't want to destroy my moat if it wouldn't benefit me at all to do that. I don't want to just shoot myself in the foot. What's your take on the potential topics I could be teaching?
Yeah, so 3 pretty different ones. From an egghead lens, Firebase is absolutely the topic I would go with, because that is the topic that most of the people on the egghead list would be familiar with and maybe want to learn, and probably has the biggest desire to learn, like to buy an egghead subscription to learn. Mm-hmm. FFmpeg, yes, is very difficult, but also has a much smaller audience of people who actually want to learn it.
Yeah.
So that would be my worry there. And then learn to code is a little like people sign up for Egghead once they are already coding. And so learn to code, while very interesting and has a huge audience, I don't think is quite right for Egghead, although it could be very wrong. I don't know. So of those 3, like Firebase is the one that I would push you towards. And you mentioned you don't think you would, I don't know how you worded it. You don't think you would learn much about things it's not much crossover if you did a Firebase course. But what I found when doing courses was, one, I learned about the thing even more than I already knew, which was nice. And so if you're using Firebase, which you are, then you'll learn you learn about something really deeply when you teach it. Mm-hmm. And that's something I haven't been able to replicate with regular learning. Like teaching something is a very unique way to learn about it. And then the other thing is I learned a ton about myself and even about business and stuff by, teaching Egghead and Caster and Pluralsight courses, right? I just learned a lot about things that I didn't touch on as developers. So that's basically how I shifted into DevRel, was doing those things. And so it opens up doors that you didn't, maybe know existed. So I would really push you to do a Firebase course with or without Egghead. I mean, you could reach out to Joel. I bet he would be very interested in a Firebase course. The only thing is, my only caution is that it will absolutely take tons of time away from you doing other things. It takes way more work than you think it will to make a course, especially the first time. I have to make an Egghead style video, which is say 3 minutes, probably takes a half a day, 4 hours.
Oof. Okay.
So it's more than an hour per minute of video for me.
Yeah.
So just think about that.
Okay. Yeah. That's something to think about. And my overly optimistic brain, I think, is say it won't take that long.
It's absolutely longer than you think.
Okay. I think that has focused me on that's the course that I'm most interested in right now, and I like the benefit of that I'm going to understand it much better. That makes a lot of sense to me. By teaching it, I'm going to be able to learn the topic at a much deeper level. And then I think if I'm mentally categorizing this as a project that's in the realm of alternate income, that this isn't I have my main focus, which I want to be software as a service. I think that has the best promise in the long term. That's the way that I want to be making a lot of money in the future. So if I'm looking at the course as not related to that, but related to whatever the side income, the backup income is going to be, doing something on Firebase would also feed into doing consulting. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense on several fronts. Okay, I think the main question I have now then is what is Egghead taking and what are they bringing to the table, and is that worth it? I have a small audience that I could be launching this to. I don't know how many of them would care about learning Firebase, but this is something that I could maybe be splitting the content and put a lot of it on YouTube and then have a paid version of it or something. Okay. I think if Egghead could come to me and say, you don't have to worry about billing, you don't have to worry about hosting the content, you don't have to worry about marketing, we do all that for you, and we take something like 30 or 40%. I think that would make sense to me to do, especially if they're being collaborative and working with me of like feedback on the content and the sort of thing that their audience would most resonate with, and whatever Joel's learned about what the most effective content is. Okay, I think that would be worth it.
So yeah, they bring 3 big things. 2 are obvious and 1 I wouldn't discount. 1 is a huge email list. They have a huge email list of JavaScript developers. So yeah, number 1. Number 2 is, yes, they take care of billing and marketing and all of those things, graphic creation and hosting, and that is huge. And then the other thing, which you might not be thinking about, is they come with a person who will talk to you. It probably won't be Joel. They have other people to who poke you every once in a while, and like a timeline. And it's not, they're actually really great. They don't like enforce a timeline, but they say things like, stuff like, when do you want this to go out, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to come up with a date, and then you have to like do the stuff. Whereas if you're just doing it yourself, you just push it off and push it off and push it off. Yeah. But if you're beholden to someone, and they are really great about it. They don't enforce hard deadlines and stuff like that, but they are like someone you have to talk to about it. And so I wouldn't discount that for sure.
I previously discounted that, and I've realized through this podcast, other experiments like this, that actually pushes me forward a lot more than I wanted to admit before.
Yeah. So yes, they're going to take part of your profits, right? Partly because they're hosting it and providing an email list and providing stuff. Yeah. But they're also going to, your chances of finishing it are much higher with them than without them, I think. Yeah.
The email list, I think I see as the biggest value. Yeah, that would.
Yeah, probably.
The idea that like they could just send out an email or 2 or a sequence and get some percentage of this massive number of people to be watching the video, which is then, I think their way of paying is they pay you some amount per second of video that people watch of your videos.
So they're doing things differently. This is all public information too. I don't want to share anything that's private. I don't think I know much that's private that is not public, but they're shifting slightly. They still have those for sure. You can still sign up and watch the entire library of content, but they're also doing more of these one-off courses where, it's a higher dollar course. So like in the hundreds of dollars probably for a expansive course about one topic. And so I actually don't know if you're like, all of Firebase would probably be one of these big expansive things. Yeah. But if you want to do like, how to host a database on Firebase and do whatever, I don't know, right. If there's like 10 videos, then it'd be like a smaller traditional Egghead style course. And so, I would talk to them. I actually don't know how they are pushing new instructors, if they're pushing them towards these bigger courses. I don't think so. I don't know. Talk to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
The grand vision I have for this is that it would be a very expansive, I want to teach all of Firebase because I have to know all of Firebase and everything I'm doing now. I've been forced to learn most of this, and it's an incredibly powerful platform that I really like. I feel more productive in building stuff than I ever have on any stack I've ever tried. And I spent a long time searching for something that would check all these boxes. And yeah, I think that's the course I would want to make, like going through everything involving the database, querying, updating, deleting, all the CRUD stuff, scaling, authentication, and then all the stuff involving the Google Cloud storage of hosting files and all the implications of doing that and security rules, and cloud functions are a whole topic. And then I can talk about like the analytics and tying that in with like, I would want to do a course on like all of Firebase.
Okay. So to me, as a content creator, that sounds like about a year-long process to create
it does, doesn't it?
Which might be what you want. I don't know. What I would do first is a smaller version, either a Firebase or something else, like a smaller course. Can you make 10 videos about something? 3 minutes piece, and do that. As we discussed, that would be 30 minutes, so about 30 hours, probably 40 hours when you get done with it. So probably an entire week to create a 10 video course. And if you could do that, and at the end of that, still like making videos, then you might be ready to do a larger course.
Yeah, that feels manageable. And there's a lot of different chunks of Firebase that I could be talking about. Yeah, for sure. Maybe I could just do that without even talking to Egghead. Maybe I'd just do that to experiment with it and throw that on YouTube and see what happens.
And at the end of that, if you hate it, then you know you don't want to do the big course.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And then based on the responses I get from that would be interesting to take to Egghead and say, like, look, here's the beginning of this course. I feel like I would have more leverage in that negotiation.
Yeah, because I mean, they do want to see, like people actually want to learn this. That's why I chose Firebase, because obviously people want to learn Firebase.
Right. Okay, cool. All right, that feels like a good plan. I don't know what I'm going to do off of this. Maybe I'll just not talk about it again for the next 6 months. Who knows? I feel excited about it right now, but there are more important. I may have other priorities. The video clipper is definitely the top of that list. Speaking of which, there's I think two more things I want to talk about in the next 10 minutes. The video clipper, I've had several days where I thought paid plans were going to get pushed out, and it's so close. It's like almost there. I have a place where people can go to the website and they can click on the plan that they want, and they can go through Stripe checkout, and they can actually be paying me money and signing up for a paid plan. And someone actually did, but they did, like, they're not supposed to yet because it doesn't actually do anything in their account. The only difference is they're paying me money.
But someone's paying you money?
Someone's paying me money now, yeah.
First customer for the video clipper.
First customer, yes. But they did it on accident, and they canceled their... Like, they did it intentionally, but they're not able to actually use it. So they said, okay, I'm going to cancel it until I'm ready. And it's nothing to do with me. It's like the source videos that they had weren't in a format that they thought they were. Yeah, well. Not just like that it needs to be converted, but like they need to go back and edit them. They got it from someone else, and they thought it was in a different state than it actually wasn't. So I was like, oh, great. Actually, you shouldn't have even signed up for it, but thank you. So what I did was credit their account. They paid me $100. So I credited the account with $200. So they'll have, like, whenever they're ready to sign up again, they'll have the month that they're paying for now, they'll be able to redo that. And then they'll have another month on top of that.
The headline is first revenue for the video clipper, right?
First revenue for the video clipper. That's right. Nice. Sell the heck out of it. So that's exciting. But the last thing that needs to be done is one page on the website that lets you change the settings for the video. So change the background color, disable the watermark, and maybe change the font. I haven't quite decided if I'm actually going to do that yet.
Launch with the first two, right? You can.
Okay, I'll launch with the first two. And then let people do that if they've signed up for an account. And like, that's going to take me a couple of hours. I'd like to finish that tomorrow. So I'd like for the next thing we talk about on this podcast to be that I've launched, and I have some number of customers who have the coupon. Oh, the way I'm doing the coupons, have we talked about that I'm doing a launch coupon?
No.
I think what I want to do, and I'd like your feedback on this, is because this isn't fully featured yet, it's a very minimal, just like the bare bones thing that it's going to do. I think what I want to do is offer a extremely discounted coupon that's valid for the next something like 6 months, where it's like half off or something for the next 6 months. And if people sign up for it now, the game is that, like, excuse me. The game is that if you sign up for it now, yes, you get less of the product right now, but as I launch new features, I'm going to be raising the price. So maybe the coupon starts at 50% off, and then the next feature I launch, it goes to 40% off, and then the next feature I launch, it goes to 30% off, until I'm at the place where I'm charging the full price for it. And so how you might be framing it if you're buying it with the early discount coupon is like, you're gonna see you're maybe after 3 months you're going to be getting the full value of the product because all the features are going to be released, but you're only paying 50% still for the next few months. What's your take on that?
That sounds great. What you said sounds a little ambiguous. I would be extremely specific and time based. So I would say something like, you can sign up for $20 a month right now, but only for the next 7 days. And these are the next 3 features I'm going to push out. These are my approximate dates when I'm going to push them out. And after that, it's going to be $79 a month or whatever.
Okay.
and then I would send 3 emails the day before and 2 emails the day of or whatever.
Yes.
That is what I've seen be effective. Yeah.
That makes so much sense, and that's so many more emails that I was planning on sending.
People
yes.
don't do anything for the first 3 emails. I have a few emails right now. My credit card's expired at the end of 2022, and I haven't updated them yet. I have a new one sitting on my desk, and I have 3 emails from my utility company being like, your credit card expired.
Yeah.
People don't do anything for the first 3 or 4 emails.
Yeah. Okay. Of course. Yes, I know that intellectually. Okay. Good. Okay. I think I need to really think about then the email sequence and write out a timeline of exactly what those features are going to be. Yeah. One of them is going to be social media integration. One of them is going to be more customization. One of them is going to be, right now you can only export in Square in the original format. So one of them is going to be, you can add other formats and you can add your own formats if you want to.
The other thing you could do, which might be too much work, you could do something like, if you sign up now, you can then vote on the feature I work on next. Like that.
Interesting.
There's variations of that I've seen work.
like
that. If you're a paying customer and you're waiting for features, then basically the feature gets pushed on my list if you're a paying customer.
Cool. Do you know of a good framework for hosting those features? I think I've seen like Trello. I think that's what it's called.
There's a few paid products. You could use Trello. You could also just like do it yourself with a little vote up and down button on a page.
Okay.
You could even just have like a comment box. Like, what do you want to see? That might be most valuable. Like, what feature do you want next? Type it here. Something like that.
Okay, that'd be the easiest thing to do. I think I might just do that.
Or reply to this email with a feature you want. Once you're a customer, reply to this email and something.
Yep. Okay. Before I go to the next topic, I was on the Software Social podcast with Michelle Hansen.
I know. We missed that. Yeah. That was huge. I listened to you and I was like, I didn't know you were going to be on this.
This is what happens when we stop co-working. I know. I know much less about what's going on in your life.
That's very cool. How was that experience?
It was fun. It was just a fun chat. That's it. I haven't really seen anything happen from it, but I haven't looked at the sign-up data also, so I don't know if I got people signing up for it.
I mean, I would already say it's pushed you to be more deadline driven for at least this initial.
Yeah, for sure. That's probably the biggest effect. Yeah, that I was really focused on that December 26th date as like, this is when I need to get things in gear. And
external deadlines, man.
Yeah, I don't like that about myself that works so well, but I guess that's the way it is. Yeah. Okay. What else? Oh, two other small things. I have a backup update. I have backed up everything that we talked about. So, except for Google Photos. But I have a note about that because it's huge. So I have backups for Firebase and that's all getting synced, and Twitter and all the other cloud storage, and that's all been officially pushed up to Backblaze. So like it's in several spots. It would be very difficult to lose that at this point. And I struggled with getting a Facebook checkout and getting a Google checkout because I went to the website and I said, okay, check out my information. And then I forgot about it for like 4 days. And then I came back to it and was like, oh yeah, I should get those. And it expired. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It expired. I got to do this whole thing again now. Like, at least wait for me to download it or send me an email or something. Facebook didn't even send me an email.
Yeah, that was Facebook, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Google at least sends you an email.
Google at least sends an email. Yes, that's nice. But it still expires. So for Facebook, I just made a to-do for the next day and then downloaded it. And I don't see another way around Facebook. But for Google, I didn't see this the first time, but when you say where you would like the checkout to go to, one of the options is Google Drive. And if it goes to Google Drive, it doesn't expire. It's taking up space in your Google Drive then that you have to pay for, but now it's in Google Drive. And once it's in Google Drive, I already wrote the script with rclone to be cloning everything from Google Drive. So now it's perfect. Now, I queue up the backups. I can even set it to do it automatically every 3 or 6 months. And which would be kind of scary to do with Google Photos because that's a lot of data, but I'll figure it out.
Can you, with Takeout, I actually don't know this. I should know this. Can you say only data that's been updated in the last 6 months?
No.
Or something? No. Yeah.
Isn't that terrible? Get on that. Talk to Larry.
No, it's not terrible. Oh boy.
Chill. I get the sense in interacting with these Takeout products that the companies are doing it more begrudgingly. Like it's not the most polished part of the app.
As now a corporate shill, I won't comment more than saying, yeah, I mean, it's not, it's not like the daily use case that they expect, right? I mean, the daily use case is you use the app.
Right.
So yeah, it is a way to get your data out.
Yeah.
And there are rough edges. Sure.
I get it. It's building a bridge over the moat that doesn't really benefit you. That's what we talked about earlier in this episode with me making a course on FFmpeg. But yeah, I'd still like to know that I'm not going to lose all my photos if something happens. Either something happens with Google or I lose my account in some way. That I've heard horror stories in Hacker News of
every week or so there's another story on Hacker News about someone losing Google or Facebook or any account.
Yeah, and that would be devastating for me to lose all those photos. So it's in place. I did remember one other service that I would like a backup from, which is Fitbit. I switched from Fitbit to an Apple Watch, and I don't have my Fitbit data, so I'd like that. But man, I just feel so calm and at peace looking at this folder on my hard drive that's also backed up to Backblaze, and there's all my data for all these different services.
Nice.
And, they could all go down and I would still have access to it. So that feels really good.
My wife had a similar thing. She had a Chromebook for many years. She just browses the internet, uses Google Photos and Docs and all that stuff. And it totally died. Just one day, just turned off. And she got a new one and she hooked up her drive and everything just magically synced. And that was an awesome feeling. Now, if she loses her Google account, then it would not do that and that would be awful.
Yes.
But as long as you have that going, like having a Chromebook is actually a super neat experience because it just all works.
And if you just add to that you are cloning all the stuff from your Google Drive, now you're fireproof. Like everything from the laptop is syncing to Google Drive. So if your laptop falls in a lake, you're gonna still have your data with you. And then if you're once a month or once every 6 months doing a catastrophic recovery of that you're backing up everything, then it seems like your bases are covered. You got pretty good insurance. I have two other tiny things that are personal, and I just wanted to talk about them because they were fun.
Cool.
The first is I discovered, Sarah and I in this new year are talking about like getting more in shape and doing more cardio, and I discovered this app that she's been using called Supernatural in VR. I was in the mood to just I was kind of angry about this thing that happened. I just really wanted to punch something, and so I was thinking I remember kickboxing was really fun, but kickboxing classes are really expensive, and then I got to schedule it and I got to go there, and that's a whole hassle. And Sarah has this app called Supernatural where she uses it. I think there's like a intense mode and there's a chill mode, and the chill mode is what she's been using. So I didn't think it was going to work. It's like you wave your arms around. It's sort of like Beat Saber. But the intense mode is just a boxing class, and it's so much fun. They put you in like Cairo, Egypt, and the Great Pyramids, and there's these things flying at you, and you got to punch them, and it's playing pop music. That's like actual pop music. I don't know how they get the license to it, but I did a 20 or 30 minute workout on this thing, and it syncs with my Apple Watch also, so it was able to track my heart rate. And I was in the orange zone and popped up to the red zone a few times. My heart rate was like 140 or 150 or something. And at the end of it, I didn't feel like I had slogged through this thing I didn't want to do. I felt like, I just played a video game. That was fun, and I want to do that again. It's scratching an itch in my life that it's a good compromise for me of like short-term, immediate, I'm enjoying the thing in the moment, and also I'm doing cardio, which is good for my long-term health. So I thought that was cool.
That's cool. I should look that up. The other ones I have that I want to try out one is called Synth Riders, which is like Beat Saber. Okay. And then Pistol Whip, which is like you have to dodge and stuff. I have those written down from a long time ago because I meant to use my VR headset as a workout device, and I never did. So maybe I
recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It's a good hijacking of temptation bundling of like, you are playing a video game and it is legitimately fun. And then at the end of it, you burned 400 calories and you feel exhausted and your heart rate's
What do you do? What do you do with the headset which gets all sweaty? Can you like swap out?
This is a terrible part of it because so Sarah and I both have a headset, but the Supernatural app requires a subscription that supports multiple users if they're using the same headset. So it just gets really sweaty and gross, and then it dries out, and then hopefully we don't use it like within an hour of each other. Nice. But yeah, that's a problem. She also has the original headset, which is like the foam, and I got the new one with an insert that's like a silicone something around it. So I noticed after using it, my face was really irritated around in that circle. So I need to get one of the silicone inserts. A potential solution for it though would be like, there's multiple silicone things that cover it, and then
I think there's swap out inserts. Yeah.
So I think that's the way to do it.
All right. One more thing. Do you have one more?
One more thing. There's this game on the Xbox called The Quarry, that's in a genre of game that I've never seen before. It's like you're watching a film that feels like a produced film, and it's beautiful. And we were playing it at a friend's house who had this giant TV and the surround sound system. So I felt like I was watching a movie, but you get to make choices for the characters. So it's like a choose your own adventure kind of thing. And it was riveting and captivating, and it's this spooky horror story with these kids who are at this old quarry, and there's these weird things going on, and you got to try to figure out what's going on. And it'll do things like, ooh, there was a spooky sound. Does your character go investigate the sound, or do they hide? and you have a limited amount of time to decide if you're gonna do one of the things. And not every decision actually matters. I went after we played it, and there's a whole Wikipedia article that goes through like every decision, which I had to know. I had to know every single branch and what was actually mattering. But it's a form of media that I hadn't been exposed to before. It's you're watching a feature-length film, much longer than that actually. I think it's something like 8 hours of content that feels as produced and looks as visually appealing as some of the shots. I was like, oh my God, I'm watching a movie. But you get to be making choices for the characters. And so it's this interactive, fun party thing. And the way the game is set up, you have a bunch of people watch it at the same time, and every person in the room is responsible for the choices of one of the characters. So when the narrative switches to a different person's perspective, you pass over the controller, and then they're driving it. And it's real good. If you have an Xbox, The Quarry is a really cool piece of content.
That's really cool. I was like, choose your own adventure for adults. That's neat. That's
wild.
Cool. I'm excited for new media stuff.
That was my last thing. So Chris, that's all I got.
That's all I got too.
Then I'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.